This video is sponsored by Card Kingdom. You can visit their store by using my referral link in the description below. Hi everyone, I'm Nizzanotes, and it's Saturday, and that means it's time for a Nizzanotes video. This is a series where I talk about the current limited format. It's pretty much unscripted. I have notes because there's certain cards I want to talk about. That's where the name comes from, but it's pretty much unscripted, sort of vlog type video, which isn't like most of my other content, which is obviously scripted and edited and all that kind of stuff. So this is more informal in a lot of ways. But anyway, in this particular video, I want to talk about a few overperformers from the Innistrad Midnight Hunt format. I'm about 10 drafts in at this point. The limited format when I'm recording this has been out for like a week. So it's early going in the format, but there's already some cards that have really stood out as impressive and more powerful than I expected them to be. We're also going to do a crack-a-pack at the end of this video. I think that's something I'll do at the end of most of these because it gives us the opportunity to sort of talk about a bunch of different cards and other thoughts I might have about the format that are sort of triggered by looking at certain cards. So first, though, let's talk about my overperformers so far in the format. The card that I think has overperformed the most is Morbid Opportunist. If you've played this format, you've already encountered it. After all, it's an uncommon. And man, is this thing a powerful engine. It just makes it so all of your trades, all of your removal spells, all of your things that would normally be 1-for-1 trades, whether they're on the battlefield or cards from your hand, they all become 2-for-1s. And that's not that hard to make happen in this format. It works really well with zombie tokens. You'll draw a card anytime one of them dies. You'd only draw one card a turn, thank God, because if it was not like that, it would be completely absurd. So they balanced it, but it's still really good. And it fits into basically all the black decks really well, fits into any black deck really well. The fact it's a 1-3 really matters too. Everything that has 3 toughness is a little better than it would be in a normal format because it can block zombie tokens, and that basically keeps your opponent from being able to attack with them because they're going to die. But yeah, Morbid Opportunist is a crazy powerful engine. It's like a B+, a very high level uncommon on the same tier as like the best possible uncommon removal. It's in that same category just because it makes you win so many games. And if you go up against it, you can't kill it, well, you're probably just going to lose because of the amount of value it gives your opponent. It would be good in any format. I think I underrated it for how good it would be in any format. But in this format, it's particularly good with the sacrifice deck and all sorts of other stuff going on. Especially, all the zombie tokens make it really great too. You can just throw them away for a card in worst case scenarios, and that's pretty great. So the next couple of cards are both very related, so I'm going to talk about them together, and they are Skab Wrangler and Siege Zombie. So in general, the blue-black zombie deck so far is the one that's impressed me the most. Morbid Opportunist helps this be the case, but so do these two cards, both of which have kind of reasonable stats for the casting cost, but then they can turn all of your going wide with all of these zombie tokens into some pretty real value. If you have 6 creatures untapped and you tap 2 of your opponent's creatures at the end of their turn, suddenly you'll be able to attack, including with your zombie tokens who may not have been able to attack before. And that, Skab Wrangler can just crack games wide open in the late game. Siege Zombie doesn't quite do the same sort of thing. It doesn't have as high of a ceiling, but it does give you a very real clock on your opponent in situations that might otherwise be at parity. I've found myself really, doing significant damage with them and using them to close out the game on a pretty regular basis so far. And I've seen other people do it too. So both of these are better than I thought they would be. And that's partly why also the blue-black zombie deck, right now for me, it's the best archetype in the format. We're 10 drafts in, so that could easily change. But right now, it's the one that's impressed me the most. And these two cards are part of why, as is Morbid Opportunist. And the other two overperformers I want to talk about are also related, and this is because they're both all about, day and night changing. And they are Component Collector and Obsessive Astronomer. So both of these cards in my set review, I was like, they have decent stats, but what they do just isn't going to be that impressive a lot of the time when day and night does change. And it's true that neither of them are like game-breaking, day and night changing cards. But it turns out day and night change enough, and you have enough control over it that both of these cards have been better than I expected. The Obsessive Alchemist, or Obsessive Astronomer, that is, really lets you rip through your deck, throw away cards you don't need in a very real way that really ends up generating a lot of value for you. And meanwhile, the component collectors can be used in a couple of different ways. You can use them to make it so, you can attack more effectively because you tap their stuff, but you can also use it to sort of slow them down and create parity. I've seen boards where there's like two component collectors in play, and the person who has the component collectors really has complete control over the game and can make it go pretty long if they want to. And then you also make your opponent have to be concerned about day and night changing themselves, or it'll mess up the race or whatever. So both of these have been impressive. The other day night cards, most of them I thought would be really good, and they have been. So those I don't include all of them here because like the 3 mana 3/3 with Ward 1 guy, that thing has just been really good, and I expected it to be. But these two and their effects are, they're slow. They're slow at accumulating value, but they do really get it done frequently. And they've both been pretty impressive cards overall. So those are the cards right now that I feel have overperformed the most, that have really surprised me. And again, they are Morbid Opportunist, Skab Wrangler, Siege Zombie, Component Collector, and Obsessive Astronomer. All right, so let's do a crack a pack, pull up a booster pack, and I'll tell you my thoughts on every card in the pack and what I would take out of it to give you a feel for, what I'm thinking about this format. So we'll start at the bottom here with Bait Hook Angler. This is a funny card because it's one that a lot of people thought I overrated in the set review. I gave it a B minus, meaning it's like a first pickable common, and I think it's lived up to that hype. I don't think right now that I underrated or overrated the card. You can usually, it just stonewalls so many of the early drops in the format, and then it just comes back as a pretty relevant flyer. It comes back as a 1/2 flyer when you disturb it. And that makes it a pretty impressive card overall, and its ability to get 2-for-1s and stuff. You kind of hope you don't first pick it still. It's not like so good that you're like, yeah, let's first pick this thing. But it's not a bad card. And it's better than average, I would say. Next up, it's Hedge Witch's Mask. This hasn't impressed me at all. I didn't really expect it to. I thought maybe it'd help you trigger Coven and stuff like that, and it does to some extent. But the stats boost just isn't enough, and the fact it can't be blocked by some stuff just doesn't matter either that often. Brimstone Vandal. So this is another one of these day or night cards. This one's about as good as I expected. It's got good evasive stats, or decent evasive stats to begin with, and it also pings your opponent throughout the game. So far, I'd say the Angler is the best of these three cards, and I'd be taking the Angler. Next up, though, it's Defenestrate, a great common. Kills most things in the format for 2 generic and a black, and that is really awesome. Its ability to just take out almost all the creatures in the format at instant speed for cheap is great. Sometimes the fact it can't kill flyers is a bummer, but it's still premium and definitely what we're taking out of this pack now. Next up, it's Plummet. This is a sideboard card. There aren't enough flyers to main deck it at all. Falconwrath Perforator. It's a fine 2-drop. It does a decent job of doing some damage early, getting some of your synergies going in the black-red vampire deck, which allows you to, you want to be damaging your opponent, and it does it whether it's blocked or not. No Way Out. Mind Rots are never impressive, and even though this one gives you a zombie, it's still not especially impressive. It's all right. You'll play it, but it's like your 23rd card a lot of the time. Next up, we've got Geist Wave. This has been an alright card too. It's a perfectly solid playable for blue decks. Bouncing your own stuff with it feels especially good, but being able to interact with your opponent's stuff is good too. Still taking Defenestrate. Gavony Trapper is pretty good. It does set up Coven effectively in addition to just being a good creature anyway. Tapping things down can really have a major impact on the game. I'd still take Defenestrate over it though. Flare of Faith is next. This trick has been pretty legit. If you get a human deck going, and it's not that hard to get a deck with like 10 humans, especially in green-white. Flare of Faith is a very, very real card that you'll play a couple of copies of in a lot of those green-white, more aggressive human decks. The +3/+3 and indestructible boost is just enough to win any fight, and it can even blank a lot of removal. That said, it's really only good in that very specific deck, while Defenestrate is good in every deck and also very splashable. Our next card is our first uncommon, and it is Defend the Celestis. It's a pretty powerful card. I don't normally like these expensive tricks, but because this one lets you distribute counters all over the place, you can get 2-for-1s or even 3-for-1s if you're lucky. It is a bit expensive and a bit slow, and you're probably playing it in the same deck you're playing Flare of Faith in, but, it's fine. Still, I would definitely take, right now I'd say we'd take Defenestrate, followed by the Trapper, probably followed by bait hook angler. It's probably what I'm looking at here. Next up, we've got Dissipate. This is a playable counterspell, but, just barely. It's sort of an average playable. Its ability to exile stuff definitely matters. I do like Covetous Castaway a fair bit. That's our next uncommon. A 2-mana 1/3 that when it dies mills you 3 cards, and then it has Disturb for 3 generic and a blue. So when it dies, it comes back as a 3/4, who when it enters the battlefield shuffles 3 cards back into your deck. This card has impressed me a lot. A lot. Basically, all the Disturb cards are good, which is pretty much what I expected in the set review. So at least I got that right, even if I got some of the cards we talked about earlier in this video wrong already. This can effectively block a lot of 2-drops in the format. It blocks zombies without dying to them. And then even if it does die, it comes back as a very, very real threat. And the fact it shuffles 3 things back into your library isn't insignificant either, because when it does so, you can shuffle back in 3 things that aren't lands or things you want in your graveyard, so you're increasing the likelihood of drawing relevant cards. So beyond just being a 3/4 flyer, it's a pretty nice card. But of course, we've got a mythic rare here that's going to be the pick. It is Intrepid Adversary. This thing, all the adversaries are really good. This one is just like the rest of them. It has good stats when it comes down early, is a 2-mana 3/1 lifelink, and then when you play it late, it pumps your whole board and does all kinds of insane stuff. So what would I take here if Intrepid Adversary wasn't the obvious pick as this powerful mythic rare? Well, it's close between Defenestrate and Covetous Castaway for me. I think in the end, I would go with Defenestrate. Premium removal is important. Being able to kill some of these engines like Morbid Opportunist is crucial, while the Castaway is quite good, and definitely the third card out of this pack. I think I take Defenestrate over the Castaway, but it is very close. Following that, it probably goes like Bait Hook Angler, Gavany Trapper. Those 2 are really close as well. And after that, everything else in this pack is kind of medium or worse. So, I hope that Crack-a-Pack tells you a few things about how I'm thinking about this format right now. And hopefully the rest of the video did that too. That will do it for this edition of Nizzanotes. I'll be back next Saturday to do some more discussion of the format as I draft it some more. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and share it so that others can enjoy it too. If you want to make sure you catch future editions of Nizzanotes, as well as draft videos, set reviews, all kinds of stuff, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. And if you're looking for past videos of mine, you should see the playlist on your screen shortly. Lastly, if you're interested in supporting the channel, you can on Patreon. Thanks for watching.